let's do Guess the Handicaps, lads. We're gonna do look, I was talking to Shane about it there. There's it's such a massive weekend of hurling ahead that the fact that there's actually, I think, 6 championship games in football has kind of been, and only 4 in hurling it feels more like a hurling weekend. So we'll talk about all those semi-finals, but there are some decent football games as well, and we'll get to 1 or 2 of them in a few minutes. But starting off with that silly choice for a double header, I understand why Sky are doing the games and you can't be sending out too many OB units, but considering only 200 people are allowed to go, it's a pity that Galway and Dublin and Kilkenny and Wexford will take place in the same venue. But there are the fixtures that we're going to talk about here on Guess the Handicaps. But Kilkenny and Wexford. Gary, I believe you're the champion. I've lost track, to be honest, but you've won most of the competition so far this year. If anyone's listening for the first time, I'm going to mention the fixture. The 2 boys are going to take turns to who goes first. They're going to pick what they think the handicap is for the game, and whoever gets closest or on the money wins the point. Gary, Kilkenny versus Wexford. Wexford have had Kilkenny's number in recent years, but they did lose to them in the league. This is at 4:30 in Portlaoise on Saturday. We're starting with the second game first for some reason. Sorry about that. But Kilkenny, Wexford, what do you think?
Yeah, like you're saying, Wexford have a really good record against Kilkenny in the championship. But I don't know, there was something about that league game a few weeks ago that just kind of seemed like, do Kilkenny kind of have Wexford figured out a little bit? Again, you don't know how much you can read into the league this year, especially, but I just have a sneaky suspicion that Kilkenny are gonna come out on top here, and I think that they could be they're definitely been targeting the championship all year, as they do every year, but they're really going to want to make a statement this year, I think. So this is a massive game for both teams, obviously, especially with the way the championship is this year, with the backdoor no round robin. I think Kilkenny will be favourites. I don't know, maybe -2, I think, would maybe be my prediction on that one for Kilkenny.
5:31 Wexford scored against Laois on Saturday, PJ. And that was with going basically, from what I could see in the highlights anyway, exclusively for goals for the last 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah, so they were so accurate in that game. They hit 528 from play. Of that 531, 528 from play. Only 13 wides. Like, when you're taking as many shots as they were, 13 wides as well isn't a whole lot. It looked like a much better Wexford team than, I know it was against Laois, but It looked like a much better Wexford team, more consistent one that we saw in the league. I think it was 10-point difference between the 2 teams in the league. Kilkenny were consistent during the league up until that last game against Clare. They were consistent, not spectacular. They tried out a lot of players. Every time we mention the league here, I'll think back to Shane McGrath saying it's as useless as much use as a handbrake in a canoe. So, but what else do you have to go on, I guess? I had written down here as well, Kilkenny -2.
Before we go then, I will say that was Gary's guess, and there is a chance to steal here, which you don't often have. Sometimes I'm sending you off here in a wild goose chase for 5 minutes while Gary's already got the right answer. But
so that makes me think it's either Kilkenny -1 or Kilkenny -3. So I'm going to go Kilkenny -3.
And you will pick up the point for that, Kilkenny -3, which, to be honest, lads, the league be the league. If I was Davy Fitz, and Davy Fitz is more like him than I am, this will be going on the dressing room door, because the record Wexford have had over Kilkenny recently is very, very good, and seemed like they had their number. You said it might have turned around, Gary, and that's a feeling you have. It's obviously a feeling that the bookies have as well. Galway versus Dublin then. Dublin, just talked about them 5 minutes ago there with Shane. I don't know. I didn't enjoy the match, I have to say. There was almost too much scoring for me, but I was impressed by Dublin. I thought that they were just very they just took care of business against the team that everybody was coming out of the woodwork to tip for the game, and they hammered them, but Galway are a completely different matter. So PJ, Portlaoise on Saturday.
Dublin looks like they took a step up from the type of hurling, the level of hurling they were playing in the league for that game, whereas Antrim are still, they were probably playing at their max during the league, I think. So Dublin won that game in the league by 8 points, and they won it by 18 at the weekend. 331 is like a massive score, and it was a really good spread of scores as well, I think.
Yeah.
Donald Burke at 11 points, Ron Hayes 1-3, Keane Sullivan 1-2, Keane Boland 1-1. But Galway is a whole different story. Definitely second best team in the country. I think during league, like no doubt. Consensus kind of best team, like number 2 contender for the All Ireland after Limerick. Like Brian Kincannon looked really good. Evan Nyland really good. Colin Mannion probably the best player I thought in the league. The whole different story. I wonder if I gone too much here, but I think this is Galway easy favourites. Galway -8.
Okay, Gary. I will give you the same courtesy that I gave PJ and tell you that you do have a chance to steal here.
Yeah, it's like obviously Galway will be favourites, and rightly so. It's kind of hard to know how much like credit will be given to how much notice will be taken of the fact that Dublin were so comfortable over the weekend, because obviously this is a completely different task. It's just a question: do I undercut or overcut? I don't know. I think so. Peter said -8, was it?
Yep,
he did.
Right. I'll go -7. I don't know. -9 seems like a big one, so I'll go -7.
That gets you the point. It's Galway -6. So yeah, it's 1-1 here. Both two against the serve points so far as we move into Munster. So look, that's going to be a really intriguing afternoon on Saturday. We move into, like, not to be Munster biased, but just the 2 games in the Munster semi-finals are just so mouth-watering. 7 o'clock on Saturday night, Limerick versus Cork in Thurles. Gary, you're up first in this one. All-Ireland champions versus the team who excited people in like one game in the league, therefore everybody thinks that they're All-Ireland contenders again, is the way I'm going to put it. But that could be unfair on Cork, and look, that's there for them to shove it down my throat on Saturday night. Yeah,
like this is a massive occasion. It's just, I know I think there's going to be 2,500 people at this game. Like looking at the games at the weekend, it was such a pity that the crowds were missed, like especially for championship. It just didn't feel like an occasion. I know a lot of people have been saying that.
It was worse for the feud in there, wasn't it, in a way? Because we had nothing at all last year, and you kind of got used to it. But you could hear the crowds so it kind of kept taking you out of it, as if like nobody had shown up.
Yeah, like I know, like, and I know 2,500 people. I know, like Thurles obviously holds whatever 47,000 or whatever it is, so it's going to be not much. But you'd hope that we get some sort of atmosphere. But it should be a great game. Like obviously Limerick kind of struggled to find their feet in the league for a while. I don't think they really minded that, to be honest. So they would have been aiming for this game all along. Limerick will be favourites. How much? Like Cork obviously had a good league as well. I don't know how much that will affect the handicap. I'd say maybe I'm going to go Limerick -4 here, I think.
Nobody's hit one dead on yet. Another chance, PJ.
Yeah, I had a little bit more than that written down here. So I think this is an interesting Cork team because they obviously, like, goals were a big thing for them in the league. They hit 18, which is 6 more than I think Galway, who were the next best. Like I know they did 7 of those goals were scored against Westmeath, but even if you took that out, then it would be the second most in Division 1 this year, which is. And they did hit 2, like that league game they played against Limerick. You were looking at wondering, they obviously weren't cooking with the full recipe there when it came to like the cookout, the puck out, like it was an absolute disaster. That game was over by half time. Cork came into it in the second half, but like looking at, they did hit 2 goals against Limerick. I'm guessing like teams are starting to think we're not going to score more points than Limerick, but we might score more goals than them. Yeah. I think we're going to get 4 in the league. Like an interesting Cork team. It's a young Cork team. A lot of, like, so many of them are under 25. You got like there's 8 from the team that lost the under 21 final 3 years ago have now made their senior championship debut. You're probably going to have a few more this week, like in the coming weeks. Limerick are still favourites here. Like we all know how good Limerick are. Limerick -5.
And Gary said -4. It is Limerick -3. Lads, in a like, and maybe me knowing that influenced my random attack on Cork before we did this, because I just feel that if you think that Kilkenny are -3 against Wexford and Limerick are -3 against Cork, those two, the two of them being the same doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. But look, we'll see what happens. Obviously, a lot of people know a lot more than I do, but Limerick -3 in Thurles. We've talked a lot about the next game, lads, Sunday's game. So we might just quickly get the handicaps for Tip and Clare, and then we'll move on to the football. It's 2-1 to Gary, but PJ, you're up next.
Yeah. I thought like Clare looked pretty good at the weekend, a bit better than we thought they were going to be. Waterford were hurt by those injuries a bit more than we thought they would as well. Like when I think of a tip here, I think that last game against Waterford in the league, where the defence looked very, very, very vulnerable.
Yeah,
I still think Tipper favourites here. Like tip -2 is what I'm going to say.
Gary.
Yeah, I think Clare were much better team and played okay without being all that impressive over the weekend. So I think -2 might be a little bit low. So I'd say -3 for tip.
Okay, and again, nobody's right on, but it is tip -4, which gives Gary a So by the way, tip bigger favourites than Limerick. I'm saying nothing, but that gives Gary a 3-1 lead here. So PJ's in a bit of trouble, and I don't have a tiebreaker, lads. So I hope not. We could have our first ever Guess the Handicaps draw, but let's move on to the football. We've been talking a lot about hurling. That's an incredibly enticing weekend's action to try and watch all 4 of those games. Will take up the whole weekend, but there's also time to squeeze in a football game, 2:00, or is it 2:00 on Sunday? It's the Sunday game anyway. Galway versus Roscommon in the Hyde. So it's actually probably Roscommon versus Galway. Connacht semi-final. Who's up first here?
Gary, I would lose.
Me, yeah. Me, like the Connacht Championship. It seems every year that there's just one result that kind of surprises us. Like either Roscommon win or Galway enters favourites against Mayo, and Mayo end up hammering them or something. So could this be the one? Like maybe Roscommon's record in the Hyde, I think, is okay. It's pretty decent against these teams in the Connacht Championship. They weren't great in the league, but then again, Roscommon, when they're in Division 1, this tends to how it goes between them. But Galway did give them a good, fairly big beating in the league as well. I think Galway will be favourites. I'd say -3 for Galway, I think.
Okay. There's a chance here for you, PJ.
Yeah, the battle of the relegated Division 1 teams here.
Yeah.
Like Roscommon beating Galway should not be a surprise. Like 2019, 2017 Connacht finals, Roscommon were relegated those 2 years as well. So like league form, Roscommon going up and down the league, it's not a big deal to them. It's kind of like it's what they do. I don't know what to make of this Galway team at all. Like that league relegation game against Monaghan. Like I don't know how the hell they lost that. Like they really should have. Like that losing point that Jack McCartney, like the winning point that Jack McCartney kicked for Monaghan was, what a mess in the Galway defence. It's like that really kind of sticks out in my mind. It's like that was still a very good team, but I got undercut Gary a little bit here and say Galway -3. Sorry, Galway -2 is what I meant.
Oh, the fact that you said undercut, even though I'm going to give it to you. It makes it 3-2. You've got it bang on there. It is Galway -2. As you said, PJ, I'm just intrigued by this game. For Roscommon, you expect the unexpected with Roscommon. There's nothing they could do to surprise me in this game. So it's not even them. And that means them winning by 20 points, by the way. But with Galway, it's just like, there's a lot of people who want to see Pádraic Joyce succeed and want to see Galway play Galway style football after what we saw with what some people perceived as possibly missed potential under Kevin Walsh playing a certain way. Those days are gone. I think even if Kevin Walsh was still in charge, he wouldn't be playing that way anymore. But we want to see Galway kick on, but they've left us perplexed so far, I think. And I think the championship's all that's going to count. They have to go out and win this match and kind of win it with a bit of style, I think, for us to kind of go into what's going to be a Mayo Connacht final with a sort of a bit of giddiness, I suppose, that you should hope when those two teams meet. Anyway, that's my take. Last game, lads. PJ's chance to get the first ever draw on GAA Embedded, and note to Mick, to himself, have an odd number next week. Offaly versus Kildare. I picked this one because we haven't talked enough about Offaly. The best game of the weekend in either code by a mile, but not that many people would have obviously seen it live unless you were watching on GAA Go. But they ended up winning by 9 points in extra time, which is an unbelievable thing in itself. Niall McNamee rolling back the years, but there seems like there's plenty more besides on this Offaly team other than the kind of the couple of well-known lads. It seems like John Mott PJ has done that kind of job where he's got together a real team here, and I'm also glad that they didn't follow up playing a league. They didn't follow up saying yes to playing football by being punished and losing for it, and everybody thinking that was a stupid idea. That's a good thing, I think.
Something that stood out to me about Offaly was John Mann saying yesterday that he thinks Niall McNamee has improved over the last 2 years. Like somebody who was like this like Offaly legend already has somehow he has improved. So if he can improve during John Mann's time, it makes you think like, well, other players have probably done the same as well. The thing, like, this is will be Offaly's third week out in a row here. I mean, like having lost to Derry in that league final, an extra time game at the weekend. I think that's definitely going to take a toll here, because I would have thought the Kildare would be favourites anyway. Should be mentioned, like, Louth could have won that game yesterday.
Yeah, of course,
they had a chance right at the very end, the normal time. I think Samuel Roy missed a chance. Kildare, like what looked like it was going to be an indifferent enough season, has turned out into a good season for Kildare. Like they've been promoted. They're going to like, I think, the kind of wider spaces of Portlaoise. Jack O'Connor certainly seems to have talked about that a lot. I think Kildare are big favourites here. Kildare -5 is what I have down here. I'm starting to wonder if it's enough.
Okay, Gary, I'm not going to say much, but there is a chance.
Okay. Yeah, like, to be fair, I was happy to see Offaly, even as a Westmeath man. I have to say I was happy to see Offaly win at the weekend, because it would have been a bit of a shame if they had, after such a good league campaign, to have and like, fair play to them for playing that final as well, because it was a risky move in a sense, because you didn't know how the players would be this week. But fair play to them for getting the win last week. But then, like PJ is saying, 3 weeks in a row is a lot to ask, especially with a short preseason and how condensed the league was in general anyway. -5 sounds about right. I don't know whether to go over or under. I'm gonna go Kildare -6, I think.
Oh, he was always going to go one up or one down. It's Kildare minus. It was the difference between a throwaway draw and a convincing 4-2 win. So congratulations to Gary on that. That's just one of 4 Leinster quarterfinals on this week. Dublin playing Wexford, obviously being the one that everybody is going to watch out for. I never mentioned Longford's win over Carlow earlier on in the show as well, by the way, when talking about Wexford's win over Carlow and Offaly's win over Louth. So 4 Leinster's quarterfinals. We've also got Monaghan and Fermanagh. I don't understand why there's only one Ulster quarterfinal, lads. Can anybody tell me what's going on there? Because we're rushing through this year like there's no tomorrow. But in Ulster, for some reason, we're putting off games another week so that the likes of Tyrone and Monaghan and Cavan and all these teams aren't out for 2 weeks at the start of the year.
No,
I have absolutely no idea, other than, it's just the way the GAA does things sometimes.
That is the best stuff you could possibly get.
It makes sense because it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, yeah. So, well, look, we'll see one quarterfinal anyway. We'll see Monaghan and Fermanagh, and also that brilliant hurling week. But keep an eye on Balls.ie all year. Thanks for watching the first episode of GAA Embedded. We had a brilliant chat with Darren O'Sullivan, a great chat with Shane McGrath. We ranked their county jerseys, away jerseys, so don't forget to get involved in the comments on that. And Gary once again won in Guess the Handicaps. He'll have a chance to defend his crown next Monday, and we'll be back with you with lots more then. Keep an eye on Balls.ie for everything. And of course, please subscribe to either YouTube or to the podcast, depending on what you're listening to, and send us a screen grab, the gaffer at Balls.ie. You'll be in with a chance of winning a GAA jersey of your choice. We'll talk to you next week.